Cybersecurity looks exciting from the outside: tools, headlines, hackers, myths, big salaries. But the inside really is different: long learning curves, confusing roadmaps, rejection, and a lot of silent doubt. That's why most of the beginners quit, not because they are not capable, but nobody gave them a course to stay on when motivation fades. Cybersecurity threats are rising. AI is changing the security roles faster, and industry needs more builders, defenders, discipline learners, especially from the real communities, not just certifications. Today, we are joined by Jithu Joseph, recognized cybersecurity voice and an influence leader in Bangalore, to give beginners what they actually need: practical path, mental model, and a resilience to stay on course and win. Before we dive into the topic, let's have a small video about Power of Knowing Forum. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forum. Let's welcome Jithu and dive into the topic.
Awesome.
Hi Jithu,
Hey,
welcome to
Prem.
our podcast, sir. Good
Thank you so
evening.
much. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and good evening. It's
Good evening.
it's great to be
Jithu,
part
a
of.
small intro about yourself, Jithu, to the audience.
Sure. So, hey everyone, my name is Jithu Joseph. So I'm a senior security architect. Um, I've been working in the industry for almost 4 years now, and I've been lucky enough to be part of a lot of different domains within cybersecurity within these 4 years. So I have my hands on cloud security. You can talk about all the major three major clouds. I have my experience on it. I've worked with compliance teams, application security, network security, you name it. I have been lucky enough to work in all of them. This is from my professional side, but coming to my passionate side, I am also a public speaker. I think this is my 12th or 13th session, public speaking session, and I've been through through various communities. I've got the opportunity to be part of different workshops, being a guest lecturer at different colleges and all that. So happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Jithu. Honor to have you, an influencer on the cybersecurity. The more we need spread the awareness and let people know that cybersecurity is not just protecting; it is much more than protection. It is an enabler for having our digital assets and how we can enable the larger audience to understand why cybersecurity is so important in our careers, in our personal life. With DPDP coming in, I think
Oh, yes.
everybody owns the digital space, and how to secure that is a big challenge that we are facing. And that awareness is what we want to look at. And this is our 350th episode, and it's great to be here having all the speakers and coming and sharing their knowledge. Just to start with, why do beginners quit in cybersecurity, and what is the real formula to stay until results show up, Jitu?
All right. I mean, to be honest, there are a couple of things, right? So one part of it is most beginners, uh, or most people think why beginners quit is because they have a notion that cybersecurity itself is too hard, right? That's not true. I mean, to a sense, as long as you've been putting your effort and all that, it's the problem is not that cybersecurity is hard. The problem is the fact or the reason why people quit is because they can't see progress, right? What I'm trying to say is I have been, and even I have experienced this a lot during my initial time because it took me a lot of time to get into cybersecurity. I was clear that I don't want any other domain, but this was the only way that I want to go forward. So cybersecurity is that one of those fields where you keep studying for months and you still feel like you know nothing, right? That happened to me as well. And the problem here is, from a psychological point of view, this would create a silent self doubt, if I may call it that, right? And this would kill consistency, because imagine, right? Imagine that I'm a student right now. I'm trying to get into cybersecurity. I spent 3 to 4 months studying, and I still didn't see any progress. So what happens is that that effort that I put in, I start doubting myself. Was it even worth it? Right. So it's not that it's a talent problem, or it's not that because cybersecurity is hard. It's the way the system is designed, right? And the way people are actually studying, right? They're not seeing any progress outside. What I'm trying to say is, instead of just studying and you think that or are you just trying to build stuff and show an output? Where is your output? You're only studying, but you're not giving any output, right? So you're not able to see any progress mentally. So that is one main reason, I think. And the other part is that cybersecurity, honestly, me being in this field, I would say it without any doubt that it is too overhyped, right? It's like people think cybersecurity is cool because, I mean, it's cool to say that I work in cybersecurity. Or people think it's all about ethical hacking. I've been to so many colleges, spoken to so many students. Everyone thinks that cybersecurity is all about ethical hacking. I just had a recent conversation yesterday with one of my, I don't know, someone who I know personally, and they were like, "I lost my WhatsApp chat. Can you, bring it back?" I like, "Why did you ask me that? You are in cybersecurity, right? Can't you ethically hack it and bring it back, right?" So this fake notion is out there, and the overhyped feeling of the fact that cybersecurity pays you more. It could. I'm not saying it won't, but it is too much. It's like it's just in a different way. So these are a couple of reasons why people actually fail. Like you have a certain expectations in your mind, and when you don't get it, you actually fail, right? And you're like you get disappointed and you don't continue. So these are a couple of reasons that I think I could think of.
You're right in saying that, because cyber security means, as you rightly said, if something is gone, you either retrieve it, or something is going wrong, you protect it and see how it can be recovered. So that is the only way that cyber security. When you say cyber, they think it is something which is risky, and they don't want to look at cyber security as a framework for protection. They
Mhm.
fear it, because now as we were talking in some of the events, Jithu, if you recall, there were certain cyber crimes that were reported, if you really look at.
Yeah,
But most of the people who came from the cyber security industry, they said cyber security incidents are not reported at all.
at
That
all.
is the
Yeah.
major challenge that we see, where, because of the awareness, they what they think is, if I am prone to cyber security as a, or I've got affected due to a cyber threat incident, that means there is a image that gets damaged. That is come in the minds of the people itself, leave alone the organizations facing that kind of a
Mhm.
challenge, right? So
Yeah.
now, why do most beginners quit when the real reason behind is dropout, not what I mean is, why do the beginners quit in cybersecurity? That's the point, because it's not about dropout, right?
Yeah. See, again, the other thing could be making sure that the beginners have a feedback loop, right? I didn't have it, and it was really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so let's say I'm consuming something. I'm consuming content. I'm not able to produce anything. I don't know if it's right or wrong, right? I'm not
Yeah.
getting any feedback from anyone. So
Mm.
that is not there even today, right? When I started, I didn't have it, but I'm trying to make sure that everyone I speak to, like whenever I go to different, guest lectures at college, I make sure that every student has that freedom to talk to me. So they have something that I can give a feedback to, so they know where to improve. So no feedback loop is one problem. The second thing is unstructured learning. The reason why I'm saying this is because I've done this mistake again. I've done almost every single mistake that I would point out here, right? So I didn't know how to start. I just knew cybersecurity, and like everyone, I thought it is just ethical hacking, and I started looking at CH as a certification, right? I didn't know that there was cloud security, which was really vast. Then I didn't know GRC. GRC itself is, I can say, it's a completely different domain out of cybersecurity. There are so many things that's happening out there, right? And I think there's a beautiful mind map that's out there in the internet where you can see that there are at least 40 to 50 different domains within cybersecurity itself. Students don't know that. Beginners don't know that, right? So you start doing some random courses on Udemy. You start doing some random labs, and there's no proper direction at all, right? And the other thing is, they don't know which domain they want to pick, right? If you want to do pen testing, why are you learning about how to do a risk assessment in a different from a non-technical way, right? Or if you are someone who doesn't want to do pen testing at all, why are you even looking at a CH certification? Because CH is almost towards ethical hacking, right? It covers the broader concepts of cybersecurity, but it's more focused towards ethical hacking. So there's no proper direction. They don't know where to start. Their learning is completely unstructured, right? I did the same thing for 6 months and I didn't see any results. I just know the only thing that helped me out of that was knowing bits and bytes out of different parts of cybersecurity, but it didn't help me anywhere. So it would help beginners a lot if they actually start this way, right? The best way to start is find out which domain you want to actually continue in, right? Understand what cybersecurity is, understand what the different domains are there. I'm not telling you should know everything. Just know what are there. You should know what AppSec is, know what GRC is, know what are the different things that happen in GRC, under GRC, right? Then there's cloud security, container security. Now the biggest thing is AI, right? So know all of these, know what happens there, choose your most interested field, right? Then you start structuring your learning from there. If you want to do pen testing, you have to have a directed path. You have to have a straight line, right? This is where you start. This is the next certification. This is what you're going to do, right? Do that. Once you start doing that, then it'll be easier for you. Otherwise, you keep doing everything, and in the end, you don't know nothing, and you're going to fail anyways.
So I think with that point, can I ask you something like,
Yeah.
is it the confusion? Is it the comparison that is there, or lack of mentorship, unrealistic expectations, or lack of proof of progress? Because people look at these pointers, right?
Yeah. No, no.
These pointers, what do you think are the main reasons for this kind of a dropout or quitting?
No, thanks for pointing out the fact that unrealistic expectations, right? That is too much today. Every time you go through a job application on LinkedIn, um, they expect a lot from a beginner as well. Like I actually saw a job application from a well-known company. I'm not naming it out here, but there's not a single person who doesn't know that company. It's one of the biggest companies out there. They were hiring an intern, but they wanted certifications. I mean, the purpose of an intern, the intern is looking to learn, right? They're looking to have experience, and you are expecting the intern to have a certification. That particular certification they were looking for, you might not even find it with professionals, right? And that's not just beginners who are facing the problem. Even if you take the professionals who've been in the industry for so many years, they expect all the major certificates. You have your CISSP, you have CISM, you have your CRIS. They expect you to have everything, even though your role doesn't even demand it. So the same thing applies even for beginners. The expectations are too much. The next thing is definitely mentorship, or I could maybe put it this way because I already spoke about mentorship. They don't know where to start, right? There's not a single person who's guiding them in a way, or universities or colleges today. They do have cybersecurity as a specialization or a course. I'm not denying that. It's way better now than I started, even though I'm not that old. But what I'm trying to say is still, even though they have all these specializations, they don't know where to start. And why is that? It's because you don't have industry professionals actually coming into your colleges and telling you where to start. You're not spending time at communities, you're not talking to people. The students, I would suggest the students to actually reach out to people, right, who are actually working in the field. Ask them questions. And I know it won't be easy because we might feel like we are not ready, we should know something only then ask, but you don't have to think it that way. So these are all of these play a huge factor in this.
Completely agree for what you're saying, because the industry is vast now. Earlier we used to look at compliances, security, and all these things as one of the one umbrella which is coming under the security domain. Today it is not like that. As you rightly said, there is IAM, there is privacy side, there is cloud security, there is app security, right? And then you have the segmentation done on what layers the applications are sitting in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot of things are there now. What is the early danger zone, week or month, where most people fall off, and how do we prevent them? Is the see we want to understand what is the early signs that are coming up for that quitting of work. uh,
Hmm. I think this is more of a psychological thing than a technical answer, right? Because from my experience, I think I started to almost give up. I think after 1 month or 1.5 months, let's say around week 6 or week 8 or somewhere there. That's where it was for me. Right? I can't say this is the same for everyone. It could be different. But once I started feeling that, then I started putting myself into place. I started talking to myself, saying, "Why did you even start?" Right? I wanted to do this. I didn't even apply for a single placement from my college because I just wanted to do cybersecurity. So I started reminding myself. Then I stuck onto it. Another 6 months went by. I applied for so many companies. I failed. Almost at the sixth month, I think it was so many weeks. After so many weeks, I almost gave up. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to apply for some, IT, some any job in IT. See, the problem is you have an expectation in the beginning saying that I'm going to do this and I'm going to see this result, right? And once you don't see that result, your initial excitement is gone. Your reality starts kicking in, and all this happens because your results are invisible, right? Um, I face the same thing because I was expecting a result. I was worried about the result, and the result is actually getting a job. Right? So I'm a big fan of Dhoni. So one thing he always says, and I kept to my mind, is you never worry about the result, right? You worry about the process, right? You focus on your process, your results will come there, right? And that's something I've actually stuck to it. So then what I did was to prevent this problem of dropping out or giving up, or when you initially, I mean, the excitement is the biggest thing. You think, okay, cybersecurity, it's cool, people are gonna respect me, I'm gonna get paid more, but reality starts kicking in later 2 3 4 weeks down the line, and you lose your excitement, right? So to prevent it, I used to stick. See, I already have a sticker idea, so I used to have these things 4 years back, stuck into my laptop or the wall, saying this is what you're going to do, right? So you force a weekly system or a structured setup. Right? It's like you learn, you practice, you document, you share, do all of these. The reason why I'm telling you to do this is because I initially spoke for the first question. I think I told about you're not seeing any result or you don't have any output, right? When you start documenting stuff and actually posting it out, so let's say in LinkedIn, when you do that, even a small write-up creates a psychological proof in your mind saying that you've done something, right? It's not like you're not seeing any result. You could work for almost 8 months, study for 8 months, learn so much, you could consume so much content, but unless you see some proof, mentally you're not going to accept that you're being successful, right? So start when you learn something, practice it, create an output, create a document, create a small proof of concept, small write-up. This would make you feel like, okay, there's something coming out of it, right? And when you see this progress, your brain doesn't think that you're becoming you're going towards failure, and you actually don't stop. So this would be my suggestion.
So I think what we should tell is, you mentioned it as aptly, saying that uh, cyber security can be learned, but if you don't talk to people or get into conventions where people talk how the reality is and how it is getting implemented, you will not get the real kind of examples, right? So that is where we want to look at. And now if you really look at how we can do is, you should look at framing a system, looking at what is the current problem, not just a talent problem, right? You should give some of the, look at what could be there are case studies that are available in the internet, on the
Mhm.
internet, where
Mhm.
you can get some of the root cause analysis, what caused the issue, how did they resolve it, how did they counter, what was the structure that they followed. These all will give you some kind of a real time examples to understand how the cybersecurity industry is working, how do they monitor, how do they support, how do they mitigate, how do the risks happen. These are all case studies which are already available on the internet. So you'll have to look at, people don't quit cybersecurity, they quit the uncertainty, is what you're saying, because they are very uncertain, and that's where what we see. What is the biggest myth beginners believe that sets them up to fail? So your take on it, Jitu.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot, but I think one thing we covered so many already. But the other thing that I could talk about is the fact that people think that you need to learn everything before you even start. Right? That is probably the most dangerous myth out there. And the reason why I'm able to say this out confidently is because Jithu Joseph followed that. I followed that. I was like, I need to learn everything before even I apply for a company. Um, and this mindset, I can write it down to the paper, I can write it in stone, and this wouldn't change. This mindset guarantees failure, right?
Okay.
You don't need to learn everything before you start. Right? Everyone starts without learning everything, right? Because especially in this domain, I'm not talking about other domain, right? Especially in cybersecurity, you cannot learn everything. There are
Yeah.
people out there with 25 experience in this domain. There are people out there in cybersecurity even way before cybersecurity was a thing, right? And I'm pretty sure I can confidently say that even they don't know everything, because you can't. I mean, it's not realistic, right? There are 40, 50 different domains within it. How would you learn everything in a small time span? So that is the main problem. It's like, stop looking at cybersecurity as a syllabus in your college, right? It's a entirely different ecosystem. So that's a problem.
No, I think let me put or add to what you've been saying. Is it's an evolution that has happened in the cloud space, is what I will say, because
Mhm.
I am the old schooler guy where we started with network security, right? So it was
Mhm.
called network security at the
Yeah.
initial times, right? And we had one VLAN, not VLAN, we had LAN, we had then we had LAN segmentation done for data backup, bandwidth, and stuff like that. That is how the subnets were created. We had separate layers at that time. So that was a different world. Then we called this as information security management
Information.
system, right? So then it became, then now when the advent of cloud came in, it became cloud security, and now we are calling it cyber security, because the terminology still remains on the security angle, but the terms have changed,
Yes.
the domains have split, because earlier the data centers were for a particular location, right? And we did not work globally. Our data centers were predominantly for one customer or a couple of customers in one zone, right? And they were all private data centers. They did not have a public facing data center. Today, everything is on cloud. You don't know which zone you belong to. And so now, if you really look at cybersecurity, the spread is more. The
Mhm.
user management, if you talk only IAM, we used to have about few users.
Yeah.
Now we have global users. And every IAM implementation is across the globe. It is not that it is going to be in India. It can be in Australia, it can be in Singapore, it can be in Canada, it can be even in the US. So one IAM should cater to multiple policies, compliances.
Mhm.
So the learning is big if you
Too
really
much.
look at. Now, how are the laws which are going to happen in European region? What are the laws GDPR dictates?
GDPR,
What
yeah.
are the laws CCPA does? Now the laws in DPDP that is there in India. What are the
Mhm.
laws for data? How is the data retention, location? Everything is a challenge now. You will have to understand and go into. We are just talking about IAM. Like this, we have many other ways of looking at data security, data sanity, PII information. All these are crucial elements in cybersecurity. Don't just think cybersecurity means it's one thing.
Yeah.
Select your niche, as rightly what Jithu told. Write down, do a research, fix something, and fix something which makes you do everything with passion, is what I would say in as
Agree.
many words that I would like to say. Now, coming to the next point, the as you said something and we mentioned it, I must learn everything. That's the
Mhm.
first point that everybody says. I need to code. That also is the next. I need to know coding first. That's the another. I need an expensive lab also. That's
Yeah.
the another myth that I see. And certificates that guarantee a
Uh,
job. That's another take that they want. And which is the most harmful myth among these, Jitu, according to
Okay.
you?
Since you mentioned certification, I think it is on par with what I just said. Is the fact that you need to learn everything before I start. I thought this was the only thing. I completely forgot about the certification part. Thank you for reminding. Certifications is another big thing, and especially in our domain, right? Because there are tons of them,
Tons.
and like I said, I think initially one of the question we was talking about unrealistic expectations, and that is the main problem, right? There's something called this. I think I spoke about this in one of my sessions at a college, and I was studying. There's something called a purple squirrel phenomenon, right? So the purple squirrel phenomenon, in simple words, it basically is there's a person who's trying to find a purple squirrel, and the fact is that the purple squirrel doesn't exist, right? And what it correlates is that when let's say when a recruiter is putting out a JD, right, for a cybersecurity role, they have every single certification that exists on that JD. They're trying
Yeah.
to find that perfect person, right? And what happens here is, I know it. You don't. Since I have experience in this domain at least for a bit, I know that you don't need all of this. But let's say if I was in the shoes of a student who's just graduating, I don't. I might think that I actually need all of these certifications to get in. Right?
Get it.
And I would completely forget that it's not about the certification, it's about your practical experience that matters. I could have 10 different certs, but I still cannot have, I might not have any hands-on experience, and it doesn't make any sense. Right? I personally would prefer people with hands-on experience to join my team instead of a guy who's hunting for certifications. Right? Certifications are I'm not going to call it a myth, but it's again something that's too hyped, as hyped as cybersecurity is. Right? You might apply for a role within pen testing, but they might ask you for CCSP, which is completely in cloud. It has nothing to do with pen testing, but they need CCSP, right? And every single HR needs CEH for a beginner. I personally, I would not prefer CH. I've done CH. I'm not against it, but I would prefer someone who's done EJPT or OSCP, because that has more practical hands-on experience. Right? So, not telling it as a myth. It's the fact that it is portrayed in a different way, which is actually wrong. And there's again nobody else to guide students saying that, okay, this is not how you have to look at it. There is a different way to do it.
I agree for that because the other thing that we need to look at also is, if I have a certification, I've learned a lot to
Ah,
get into certification, right? It is not an easy task to finish CISP,
oh,
right?
it's not.
If you
It's not.
really, and CEH also is not that easy to finish because you have labs. You will have to do a lab and at least do a demonstration that you are able to penetrate into a healthy system and see what are the loopholes, the ports that are open, and many other tasks that are supposed to be done.
Agreed.
Without having that experience, you will not be in a position to think realistic. So
Mhm.
that's the major part I am trying to understand. Now, coming to the point that we were talking about these myths, is there a mindset that can make a shift immediately from that improves the retention and also gives you a confidence that this is the domain or this is the industry that I want to work on? So
Mhm.
because we are talking about quitting, right? So most beginners quitting, so we want to see, is there something that improves retention and confidence?
Okay. I'm trying to see how simple I could put it after saying all this, right? I think the best way to say it is learn just enough, right? You only need to learn whatever your next role requires for you to learn. It could be for someone who's stepping into cybersecurity. So whatever your first job requires, learn only that, right? And
Mm,
you could be someone who's in the field for 1 year. You could be an intern. Whatever your next role is, learn just that for now, right? I'm not against learning. Always learn whatever is out there. Have that curiosity. Have the thought to break stuff. Have that curiosity. It's really good. It's always good to learn other stuff. But when you're trying to get into the field, learn whatever is required. Right. First is obviously picking the domain which I already spoke about. Right. What
mm,
interests you? Do you want to choose SOC? If you want to choose SOC, and if you want to get into monitoring and incident response, it wouldn't make sense for you to become a pen tester and actually look at OSCP certification, right? Now, if I want to get into incident response, what help does OSCP give me? It does. I mean, the knowledge always stays. Knowledge always helps. It does not
yeah.
go anywhere. But it doesn't make sense, right? The amount of time you're spending, you could have actually done it the right way. So instead of learning everything, just learn what your next role requires and prove it, right? When you pick a role for SOC, learn whatever is needed for SOC, learn whatever is needed for incident response and management. The best practical thing out there for SOC, as an example, is building your own home lab, own SOC lab, right? There are so many open source tools like Buzzo, for example, right? You can use your Elk dashboard. You set this all up. You will have a hands-on experience on how things actually happen. On a high level, this is what happens in every organization, right? So start doing stuff like this. If you're trying to get into AppSec, all your labs from your certifications like CEH and all that won't help you in the long run, because they just give you a vulnerable application, intentionally vulnerable application, and you're just penetrating to that to practice. It's not
Mm,
the way how organizations are built, right? You don't have intentionally vulnerable applications. Not that easy. You might do an nmap scan, you might find a vulnerable port, you might exploit it using something from metasploit. That is not how it will happen in an organization. Everything, all the controls would be in place, and you should actually be really creative when it comes to penetration testing, right? You should be really curious. So you pick a role, you learn whatever is just enough, you build a proof, and then you iterate the same thing. And this would be the best way how you could stop. If there are students listening to this, this could be the best way where you could stop yourself from burnout. Mental burnout is the biggest thing, not just for students but professionals alike in this domain, especially. You could stop yourself from that and actually, get into that dream role that you like.
So what we are saying is we should debunk things which are very particular when we say clear replacement belief. So learn what needs to be aligned for the job requirement that you are
Exactly.
applying,
Yeah.
right? So now if you are looking for a SOC analyst, you should be learning about how do I build the evidence, what is
Mhm.
that is to be there, what is the iteration that happens on a weekly, how is that the monitoring happens, how is the risk management thing happening, what is the change advisory. These are things that you should look at, because you go to any domain, these are common things that are required. Change advisory is one thing that you should look at. What are the changes that are there, how are the changes applied, what is the approval process and stuff like that, what is the evidences that they collect for every incident. That's cybersecurity is protecting from getting affected, right? So you need to look at basic things of what is an incident, how does an incident happen, what is the way of monitoring incidents, what are false positives. All these pointers are some things that you should look at, and look at growing, aligning to the basics of the job requirement, right? So that is the, and as Jitu rightly what you said is, the fastest way is to fail in cyber is chasing everything, right, at
Yeah.
once, and you run for everything. I'll learn CASP, I'll go CH, and I'll do something else there, and I'll become a CISA, I'll do CASM.
Yeah.
Multiple certifications are there,
Point.
so
Yeah.
you don't need to run around, is what Jitu is saying in as many words. Now, if someone is starting from zero, right? That's
Mhm.
what we are talking about, where we are talking. What should their first 30 days look like?
Okay. Well, your first 30 days, I'm not saying it's enough. 30 days, I'm not telling 30 days is enough, but still, right, let's say you just have 30 days. Your first 30 days should all be about building your first proof of capability, right? Uh, I need proof. Let's say I'm a recruiter today, right? You might have learned so many things within those 30 days, but unless and until you have proof that you have learned it, unless and until you have proof that you have executed something and you've built something, why would I hire you? Right? I need experience. I know it doesn't make sense for a beginner because beginners are trying to get experience when you join, but you have to admit the fact and the reality is that people expect you to have experience even when you start at the start of your career, right? So your first 30 days should not be about learning cyber. It should be about building your first proof. And when I say building your first proof, obviously that only happens when you learn, right? So as you learn, start building something, right? Start doing something practically. Every single domain has something to do practically, right? Do that. And when I say every single domain, I even mean GRC. So people, since GRC is not that technical of a role, people might think, what can I do practically here? You can build your own risk assessment documents, right? You could do your own risk assessments. Think how what risk quantification is, risk analysis is, risk. So how do you think? Talk here. This is what helps you. Talk to someone who works in GRC. Ask them what happens in an organization, right? And see how you can mimic that in whatever setup that you have at your home. Right? SOC is easy. Build a SOC lab. That's the best way to start. AppSec and pen testing is obviously breaking through stuff. That's the best way you would learn, right? Cloud security, you spin up your own cloud VMs and all that. You will obviously have your free credits from Azure, GCP, all that. Use your student credits. Go through, right? Instead of learning what cloud is initially, I would suggest this: just create an account, open up GCP console, open up the Azure console, play around, see what each different modules are, spin up a VM. Obviously, understand the cost first because VMs cost a lot if you don't forget to turn it off. But spin up a VM, see how can you connect that to a storage account. Do this practically, and this would help you more than just going through white paper or reading through what cloud is, what that is. Obviously, you need to understand the concept. But the concept only, you don't need to buy heart it. Just understand what cloud is, why you need cloud, and why everyone is moving towards cloud. Then do start doing things practically. This would help you. Then once you intentionally build your cloud infra, that would be vulnerable for sure because you have no idea how to make it secure. Then learn what cloud security is, right? And then you start auditing your own cloud infra. Then see how you can bring in security in that place, right? That's how you start. And this would be the best way to this is the best way to make sure uh, your entire 30 days is actually fruitful instead of just learning stuff, doing all the certification, all the Udemy courses, right? This is the best way to do it.
Now, I think there is another pointer that I would like to add when we are talking about experience, right? Now, today's environment and today's students have the uh, luxury of having some kind of an internship that is happening,
Oh yes, yeah.
right? These people can reach out to forums like the CSA forum, the B-Sides Bangalore
Insights,
forum,
yeah.
or the ISE2 or ISACA. These forums always have some of the sessions that they can look at, and they also give some of the hints where an intern is getting hired for some kind of short period of time, right? And that internship is there. Now, I've seen few kids who have gone and done in the first year holidays, they've gone and wanted to see how cybersecurity works. And the second year break, they have taken something on AppSec. Third year, they have done something on something else. So these breaks of 1 2 months or 3 months, whatever period that they are able to spread, gives them the real time experience. And the question is, once you come up out of the college also, you have that experience which you are carrying for the first 1 to 3 years. That also gives you a added value where you can say this is where what can be done in the domain. And this also makes you understand what cybersecurity or the coding or anything that is of interest to you can we pursue in that lines, or don't do we change paths. So I think that's the way we can look at what Jitu was telling was. We I added to those pointers. Now, Jitu, what are the top five fundamentals you would force every beginner to master first? No distractions, if you
Yeah.
have to see.
It's obviously networking basics for sure, right? Start with networking basics because everything's about network. I mean, the reason why you even have security in the first place is because your traffic is flowing from somewhere to some other place, right? So understand networking basics. Uh, I'm not telling you to sit down and by heart the OSI layers. What is the first layer? Nothing. That is a concept. You just need to know what that is, but understand how traffic actually flows. Right? The best way is install Wireshark in your laptop. Set it up in a way that you get your own home Wi-Fi logs, right? See what is happening, what each packet means, what are the different parameters in each of those packets. See what if you try to see if you can do something which is an anomaly. Can you detect it? All of these stuff. Right? Do it practically. Never go networking, especially never go theoretically. Like you wouldn't understand anything. Understand only the concepts and then start doing your practical stuff. So networking basics number one. Understand how traffic flows. Next is Linux. The reason why I say Linux is now in a company or in an organization when you go, you're trying to secure your applications, your servers, and all of that. These applications might be hosted on a server, and most of the time, these servers are a Linux server, right? 95% of these servers in the world are Linux. Right? And if you're someone who's into pen testing, Linux is your
Yeah.
Linux is your main thing, right? So understand Linux fundamentals. I'm not telling you not to learn Windows. I think, to be honest, Windows there is so much to learn than Linux because we the only thing we know to is move around and navigate because we have a GUI version, right? There are so many things to learn within Windows as well, but I'll get to it. But the first thing is learn Linux. Be comfortable with Linux as comfortable as you are with Windows. Then you understand how systems work in general. Right? Understand what processes are, what different important processes of a system are, what are the different type of logs. Understand your authentication, your authorization part. When I say authentication, authorization, again, I'm being quite repetitive. It's not the theoretical part. It's not that authentication means who you are, authorization means what can you do. It's not that. Understand what is happening in the backend technically, right? Try to understand all of this. What are your system processes? Understand that. And I think the next one would be your basic threat concepts, right? What is an attack in reality, not what you learned from your courses. What is an attack in reality, right? I could still confidently say there are people working in the industry who have no idea, or it was hard for me to also in the beginning, right? Who doesn't know the difference between a threat, a risk, and vulnerability, right? These are sometimes used interchangeably. So understand all your threat concepts, your basic threat concepts, then your logging and visibility. Because for us, I think one thing that we talk about a lot, your security equals your visibility, right? As if you do not have any visibility, your security is failing, right? So understand all of these core concepts, and then you're good to go.
So the other pointer that I want to say is, as you rightly said, you today the environment is in such a way that everybody has a Wi-Fi at home for sure, right? And you made a very important point. You don't need a lab at all to understand the networking basics. You have your Wi-Fi router, set your Wi-Fi router in such a way that you have a VPN setup, you have a firewall which can be set up. You can also segment private and public facing and the guest
Yes.
authentications done. So if you really want to understand and start cybersecurity learning, I think home is the best space to start with, where
Ye-
you have you leverage with the bare minimum router that the ISP gives, whether it is Act, Airtel, or Jio, or anybody, right? So they give you a router, which in turn is a device that you it is live, and it can be reset, and there is no harm in resetting also
Mhm.
here,
Yeah.
because it's only the internet. To understand the basics, I think that's the great thing that I think we should be having, right? So that is the pointer. Now coming to the next point. Okay. Now, okay. Now, what we are saying is, look at the beginners friendly, repeatable routine, learn, practice, document, share. And that's what you rightly said, Jitu. Now,
Mhm.
coming to the next point, what does a simple weekly routine look like? Tasks, uh, hours, or outputs?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's put it this way. Let's say I take a concept, right? Your day one, let's say if you have the entire day, right? Your day one should be spent learning that concept theoretically. When I say if you're starting out with cybersecurity, understand what cybersecurity is, the concept, understand why you need cybersecurity. Next thing is your CIA triad, which is like the golden standard of everyone who works in cybersecurity. What CIA triad is? All of these concepts that you have, your risk, your vulnerability, your threat, the difference between them, how they are correlated, and all of that, right? So what we can do is your day one should be focused on that. Your concept part, so you have a high level idea of what it is. Your day two, three, four is purely practice, right? It must be purely practice only. It should be labs, simulations, and all of that, right? And don't stop with this. This is not your end goal, right? Your next day should be your documentation part, right? Write what you did. I think last year I posted around 370. I had a goal of having no something like 365 days, 365 posts on LinkedIn. So every single concept that I learned, every single concept I was learning, I started documenting it and I started posting it out on LinkedIn. You could do the same thing, but in a different way. It could be, you could do your own, you could add your own jazz to it and all of that. So document whatever you learned or you wrote, right? And you could share it in different platforms. LinkedIn is great. If you did something, let's say if you actually built something, you create a repo and and you make your GitHub repo public, and you just don't, instead of just putting it out there, put it somewhere where people can see it, right? Post it in LinkedIn saying, hey, I built something, I'm curious to know your feedback. Post it out
Yeah.
there, yeah, put it in your resume, all of that, right? You could write a Medium article and saying how, if it is, let's say, AppSec, right? If you learned how to detect a IDOR vulnerability and how to remediate it, document each step. This is what I tried to do. This was my use case. This is how I found it. Document
Yeah.
each with screenshots. So others also, you're in a way you're doing two things. One, you're showing out your proof of capability. That's what I spoke about earlier. Second thing, you're helping out other beginners as well. And your day seven, let's say the last day, uh, ideally, if you have a mentor, ask your mentor for feedback, right? Let's say you review it, or you review it by yourself. Okay, what went wrong? What did I do? What do you think could have gone wrong? Or what do you think could have gone better? Review, and then you fix all these gaps. And yeah, I'm not saying you have to spend 24 hours a day. At least if you are, I mean, you're a student, let's say could spend 3 4 hours a day. And if it is structured, it is enough. If it is unstructured, then it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't matter if you spend your entire 24 hours a day, it won't make any sense. So at least daily 1 or 2 hours should be fine.
The point is very valid, Jitu, because consistency beats intensity, right? Especially in cybersecurity. Now,
Yeah.
what you said is 365 days, 365 contents that you have documented.
Mhm.
Now, earlier, I think LinkedIn had a option of collaborative articles. I don't see that nowadays.
Yeah, I don't see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So you could write an article and invite collaborators to help you understand or fine tune the document, or you are learning much better. That
Mhm.
was the stage that LinkedIn helped. I am not seeing that nowadays. But when you are part of these kind of forums where you are part of CSA or ISACA or ISC2 or any other cybersecurity platform, you attend these events, you write about the event, and you get to know people what they are doing, get your views. You can find mentors also, like what Jitu is telling is, Jitu can be one of the mentor if somebody is looking for, right, and we can help them and understand. Please reach out to Jitu. So I am bringing up his LinkedIn scan here. You can get connected to him, and you can scan, and you can connect to Jitu's LinkedIn profile, right? So what we are saying is, it is how you begin and how do you start adding value. 1% a day increase also is 365% in a year. So that's a huge number of growth learning that you can do. Yeah, you'll stumble at times, yes, agreed, but you can get more where people are able to, like in LinkedIn, you can bring most of the data out for you. Now, again, coming back to our point, Jitu, how should the beginner choose cybersecurity path? Because as we always been telling in the whole discussion is, it is too vast and they don't need to know everything, right, without getting overwhelmed. So how should one choose cybersecurity path without getting overwhelmed?
Well, it's really simple. Don't choose a domain based on hype and the fact that it sounds cool. The reason why I'm saying this is like, you know how I said that most of the students who learn cybersecurity or want to get into it, they want to do ethical hacking, right? Every single student that I like when they reach out to me for questions, I ask, "What do you want to do?" I am trying to get into pen testing or ethical hacking. I say, "Why?" Like the reason why I ask why instead of helping them actually is because I'm pretty sure they don't know the fact that there are so many other domains out there. And the second thing is because the only reason they chose ethical hacking is because it sounds cool, and it is actually cool, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to be a hacker, right? And it's like all those. To be honest, it's probably all those movies that make people think it's really cool. It's not. I mean, it's not that. It's not like we go to a company, we wear a hoodie, we have a black mask on, and that's not how it works. People like me sit there and do stuff that's not actually really cool. It's not that easy as well. So don't choose based on hype. Choose a domain based on, let's say, your fit or
Hmm.
sustainability as well. Right now, pen testing, for example, since the dawn of AI, right, since AI started, we have all AI automated pen testing. Now the question becomes, if you really want to get into AI, pen testing, why would I need you if I have AI to do it? Right?
Hmm.
I'm not telling it completely replaced, but think about it, right? So always choose based on your fit, your interest, and sustainability as well. Do you actually think this role would sustain in the future? Can you see yourself working 10 years later, right? Can you see yourself working there? That's how we have to choose a path.
Got it. How should you decide between the roles that we are talking about so far, right? Like SOC,
Yeah.
DFIR, GRC, cloud security, AppSec, pen test. Which are the decision filters? How do we filter out when we start?
Yeah, easy. It starts with asking questions to yourself, right? The first question, let's say if I were if I begin in a beginner's shoe, I would ask myself, okay, fine, Jito, do you want to be a really technical person, or you want to be a techie, or you want to be someone who is non-technical, right? When I say non-technical, you have some caveats there, right? You ask yourself that, are you really good with communication? So do you want to leverage that? Think about your skills, right? What you are good at. Are you really good at? Some people are really good with this technical stuff, right? They know to open up a phone, tell what are different components, all of that. So do you want to go into that domain, right? The reason why I say open up a phone or hardware security is because OT security, right? That's something that comes up, right? Are you someone who's really good with communication and you're not interested in technical stuff? Yeah, you're better. It would be better for you to choose, let's say, GRC side of a kind of a domain, right? So first thing is ask a question, what do you want to do, right? Second thing, understand what you're capable of doing and understand all of that. Then you start asking questions like, are you interested? Right? The interest is that big thing. Are you doing this because of hype? Are you doing this because it pays well, or what is it, right? Or are you actually doing it because you're passionate about it? Because the reason why passion is important is because you wouldn't stop learning in cybersecurity. I mean, it's the same thing in every different domain, but it's way different when it comes to cybersecurity, because you can't secure something you don't know, right? Unless you know the number of windows and doors in your home, how would you close all of them, right? So if you want to secure a software, you not need to know how a software works. You might not need to know the entire coding, but you have to at least understand how different functions are working and all of that. So you need to learn every single domain out there. So that's why passion is important, right? So you ask your question like, do you actually enjoy this work? Then obviously the uncertainty part, like, can you handle this uncertainty, right? The ambiguity part of it, because things keep changing. You could have learned a technology today, and tomorrow that technology would be redundant in cybersecurity, or tomorrow there might be 10 other stuff that's way more critical than this one, right? So can you handle this uncertainty, right? Then your technical depth that I initially talking about, right? Do you enjoy going deep, right? Or are you someone who is really good at writing and talking instead of tools? So do you prefer writing versus talking, or versus tools, right? So if you are really good with communication, because communication is really key in cybersecurity, because when you reach to a point in your career where you are talking to your leadership, your technical details don't matter at all. As long as you can't convert your technical risk into a business factor or a business risk, your experience doesn't matter there, right? That's the problem. So communication is really key when it comes to your when you go up the ladder later in your career. And the next thing is your market demand, right? So obviously, I mean, there's always they always say that cybersecurity seats are unfilled today.
Yeah.
So it's the same question. So are jobs available? But this jobs available question is related to the one that I was talking about earlier, right? Do you see yourself working there later? Is it sustainable as well, right? So these questions should be asked. For example, if you're SOC, think about all. Do you think SOC would be there? SOC will definitely be there. Maybe the L1s might easily. I mean, they already started it because of AI. The L1 part of it is going
Yeah.
away because of AI. So maybe let's say later in the future, AI is the L1 might not at all be there. But you have to think it in a way that do you have the ability to use AI to make sure that you become a core part of a team, right? So things like that. So all of these. So these questions should help you out.
Jithu, with this, I think I have one last question that we need to look at.
Uh-huh.
And that question is, what signal indicates good fit path for someone's personality and strengths?
Okay. Hmm. What indicates that if this is a good fit for you?
Yeah.
Uh, let's say you pick a domain and you start learning it for a week. After 1 week, if you're not stressed, if you're not worried, and if you see yourself smiling, it's a good fit for you. If it's a domain that is where you're putting yourself in a lot of pressure, you're not seeing any output and all of that, even after so much effort, then it's not for you, right? You're on the right path if you always lose track of time while learning. The reason why I'm saying is, learning is one thing or studying is one thing. When as a student, whenever you start studying, you look at the time, right? You want to finish
Hmm?
soon. You don't want to learn. Nobody wants to learn, right? But if you're playing a game, you don't look at time. Why? Because you
Yeah.
love it, right? You are interested. So I would say you are on the right path if you lose track of time while you're learning. And instead of problems feeling frustrating, they actually feel interesting. They're like, okay, I found a problem. Instead of feeling okay, instead of you're having your expression, instead of it being there's another problem, you should be like, okay, wait, there's another problem, that's interesting. If this is another thing, this means that it's a good fit for you. And you voluntarily actually go deep, instead of someone else telling you, I want you to do this, go deeper, learn more. Or instead of you having a thought like, okay, I need to get a job, so that's why I'm doing it. Instead of these thoughts, if you voluntarily go deeper into that domain, it's a big sign that you actually love this domain, or this is what you want to do, right? And but instead of this, if everything feels forced, then this is the wrong path, right? Instead of it feeling forced, you should do it everything voluntarily, and you should, and in the end of the day, you should be smiling. Instead of when you go to sleep, you shouldn't be frustrated, you should be smiling, thinking that, okay, tomorrow I can do that, I can do the next thing, I can break the next one, right? If you can do this, then this is the best signals that you can get.
Jito, you nailed it actually to say that, because if you don't have a passion to do anything, you will never enjoy it. So
Yeah.
that's the point that I also would like to say. And what we are saying is, use simple decisions, right? Metrics, interest,
Mhm.
tolerance,
Yeah.
for ambiguity, communication strengths, technical depth, and what is the job availability in the market also. So we should look at those pointers, and when you start, your path should be matching your strengths, not your Instagram feed. So
Yeah, actually,
not
yeah.
not the Instagram. So you will have to look at bringing strength to it, right? Okay. With this, Jitu, I have two questions which have come. So I'm bringing the questions here. Okay, I'll do the scroll off. Okay, and the question that I see here is one is, so there is one question by I want to be in network security. Like what to do?
Yeah, remember when Prem sir was asking about what is the fundamentals? I told start with network, right?
Hmm.
Because everything is network, right? So understand one thing first. Network security is not just Wireshark. The reason I'm saying this because I spoke about Wireshark. So it is not just about firewalls and Wireshark, right? So understand what network security means. Understand what network means, right? So at its core, network security is all about three things. What I can say, right? It is about how your data moves, what a normal data looks like, and what your abnormal data looks like. Basically, your attack looks like, right? So start with the basics. Your OSI layer, that's the concept. Remember, I said day one, look at your concepts, understand your concepts. Don't by heart it, understand what each layer of the OSI layer means. So learn those concepts and then see how practically it actually works, right? Then you set up your router. Start with your router at your home, your Wi-Fi router, right? Start with resetting your Wi-Fi password, your default password, which
Yeah.
nobody does. That's just, start from the smallest things. You would start making progress, right? It's like the check boxes. Start from there. Understand what capture all your traffic. Go through each of those packets that you capture in Wireshark or T-Shark and see what it means. Just take a snippet of that. The best way I can tell you, if you do not have someone to teach, take a snippet of your Wireshark capture, take a screenshot, put it in ChatGPT. Right? Use
Hmm.
AI. I mean, it makes your life easier, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you're becoming lazy. As long as it's making your life easier, then do that. Just take a screenshot of it, put it in ChatGPT, ask it what are these things, right?
Hmm.
Understand those. Instead of by hearting there, understand those and see the next packet and try to see if you can correlate, right? If you can understand what this means and all that, then you can set up a VM, try to SSH from this VM to the other one, see how that log looks like. It's all about learning how a log looks like, right? Because network security is all about your data that's moving or your traffic that's flowing, right? So understand all of these.
No, I
That,
think what Jitu is saying also is you have the virtual box which is there, right?
yeah.
You can install a virtual box, bring up your VMs, configure your network, same thing that you can do into your Wi-Fi router. That's what is the basic steps that you should look at understanding, because today everybody has an internet, a
Mhm.
laptop for default, and we are having powerful laptops today, not are those when we started our journeys. Today we have a minimum 256 to 512 GB of storage and 16 GB of RAM that is there. You can have about 6 or 8 GB allocated to a virtual box and build something, right?
Yeah.
So you can build a virtual box, install two sets of VMs, configure network, break that. All that is possible. That's how you start with. The second point that I have as a question is, this is a big question that is coming. Overwhelming is very common in cybersecurity, especially pen testing and ethical hacking. What are your views of AI? Do you think compliance roles can be replaced? Also, what do you think about vibe and code causing? Because this is a big question I'm removing after reading it,
Okay.
Jitu.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's not just ethical hacking or pen testing where you feel it is overwhelming, right? It's every
Mm,
single domain in cybersecurity because it's too much. And the reason
yeah.
why I say it's too much is now, let's say if I want to get into securing the application side, basically your software and your application, I must know how a code works, right? Even if I don't know how to code, I must understand what this function is calling, right? So you kind of have to know software engineering from a point or from a different way, right? So you have to learn that. If you want to do cloud security, you should know what cloud is. You should learn that. You should get technical with cloud, and only then you can learn cloud security, and only then you can implement. It's this path, right? It's this thing. Yeah, like I said, for network, I think when somebody asks for network security, you should know what a network is. You have to learn network. You should know to configure a VLAN or all of that. The reason why I say you need to configure, I'm not telling you need to. It's better if you can, right? It helps you a lot. So when you do this, you end up overwhelming yourself. That's the problem. It's not just within ethical hacking or pen testing. And the only thing that would help is the fact that you stick to your goal. Right? Like I remember when I said at the start of the session where I was mentally burned out. I think let's say 1 month or 2 months later. Then I spoke to myself. I told there's a reason why you started this. Right? It's all psychology. Like you talk to yourself, say that there's a reason why you started. Don't stop it right now. And the next thing is next question was I think if I'm not wrong, if AI would replace compliance roles. Uh, Here's the thing that I would say AI is not going to replace any roles. It would just replace people who are not accepting the fact that they need to learn and implement AI in whatever they work, right? You need people. AI is not going to make any decisions for you, at least for now. Maybe super AI, not the general intelligence, maybe ASI, super intelligence, maybe that can replace humans. We don't know, but it is we have time for that, right? But no, I don't think it's going to replace any role, especially in compliance, because compliance is all about communication. It's all about how you can convert your technical risk into your business risk. It's all about how you can, get your compliance standards, like your certifications, your ISO certifications. I don't see an AI chatbot talking to my auditors and convincing them to give me my certification and all that, right? So you still need people there. What else was the question? I think there was one more part to it. AI replacing.
Also, what do you think about the vibe coding
Ah,
cause clause for AI?
Vibe coding was a boon for us, honestly. The reason why I say that is because everyone vibe codes, they have no idea what they're building, and it all comes with security flaws. Right.
That
My job is secure. Honestly, when I'm working in AppSec, my job is secure because everyone's vibe coding, right? Initially, whenever people used to write code, and if I had a question, I would ask them, okay, what does this particular part of your code does? They had an answer for it. Today, they probably might not because they didn't write the code themselves, right?
true.
And the problem with vibe coding is your dependencies and your packages. I'll just explain a bit on that before we stop, right? What I mean is, when you today your applications are not built from scratch. It is basically different components pulled in from different places, right? When you
Hmm.
build an application, you let's say you are building an application where you need to use an HTTPS response, something like that, right? You pull in requests, you pull in different packages like that. So when you do it the same thing with vibe coding, you have no idea what different packages your tool is bringing in, right? You have no idea what cursor is doing. So you just trust that the only thing you're worried about, or a developer is worried about when they're white coding, is if your application is working,
It's
and if your
working.
whatever your use cases are, if that's working. Your security, you're not worrying about it at all, right? So when I'm 1,000% sure every single white coded application would have at least multiple vulnerabilities out there. Then all the recent news out there is all about Claude, right? And how Claude had multiple vulnerabilities. Your Cowork, your Malt bot, right? Something like that, which could replace people and all that. It itself came up with like 100 plus vulnerabilities, and nobody even knew about it. But everyone were buying the Mac Minis and setting up their own Coworks and all that. So AI vibe coding kind of helped the developers. It made their life easier, but it also made their jobs harder as well, because everyone is replacing people with if one guy can build an application, why would need 10 people, right? So it was a problem for them. But I think for me, I'm not worried at all, because it made my life easier. I'm just secure about my job because I know there are going to be vulnerabilities in every application that is built now.
Very aptly put on to that point, Jitu, because AI is not going to replace. Let's take that as a strong statement across the industry, because AI can bring things faster to be done.
Makes
Beyond
it.
that, AI, it makes you make simple. Imagine having a dialed phone and a smartphone. Yeah, a smartphone made life easy. Dialed phone only made you make calls. So that is the difference. Now, phone did not replace anything. Phone made it accessible. Today people don't carry wallets, they carry their phone to pay money also. So that's the stage that we are in today. So it's an enablement. So don't look at AI as a threat. So that's what we say. I would like to give some of the takeaways that we have taken from this session, right? So beginners quit because they lack structure and proof of progress. That is the first point Jitu started with. Build a weekly routine that produces a visible output, like documentation. He gave us some pointers where he's posted about 365 articles on what he learned. So that is one way of looking at asking for feedback, getting things. Choose a path you fit, right? And using a fit job signals, no, not hype. Depth beats scattered learning. So you will have to go into one path, build that depth, and so that you can get into certifications. Helps only when paired with projects and documentation. Proof creates credibility. That's what we want to say. Community and mentorship reduces dropouts, because people can help you. What are the real time incidents, where do you stand? These communities, these conferences are very strong enablers for you to understand it much faster, because the leaders speak what is the current challenge the industry is going through, what are the pain points, what is the trending topics, what is that we can look at it. So one strong learning circle can change everything. So if you bring one circle, you can brainstorm, you can have lot of pointers there. A winning emotion is earned confidence, small daily wins, weekly review, consistent momentum is what we should be taking care, is what I think. That's the statement that we would like to. Jitu, thank you for saying the beginners need to hear. Cybersecurity is not a sprint, it's a discipline for transformation. That's what we say. If you are a beginner watching this, don't chase everything, choose one path, build proof weekly, stay long enough for your competence to become undeniable. So that's what we want to say as we conclude this session. Any pointer you want to add, Jitu, before we conclude?
Yes, one last thing. If there are students actually listening to this, right, reach out to people. Right,
Yeah,
when you go to different communities, sign up for their forums, reach out to them, talk to them. You shouldn't have a thought like the reason why I'm saying this. I had this when I came to my first conference. I didn't want to talk to people. I was like, oh, they're all in a different level. They wouldn't consider me. Should I should start doing something only then? No, it's not like that. Especially our community in Bangalore. We are from Bangalore, so especially in our Bangalore, we have a beautiful community, right? There's nobody out there with ego and all of that. Come to communities, you see someone, talk to them. That's the best way to start. LinkedIn, reach out to people and find a mentor.
yeah.
You shouldn't have a thought like I should do everything by myself. In the end, I want to say I did everything by myself without anyone help. That's good, but that's not how you should be, right? Always find a mentor, and the best way to find a mentor is reach out to them and wait for a response. I mean, they would be busy. If you don't get a response, doesn't mean you just think about it in this way. Don't be disheartened. Think that they might not be the right mentor for you. Keep finding a good mentor until you find one, and then that's the best way to start. Reach out to people. It would make your life really easy, because whatever we learn from college is not what we do it in the industry, right? So talk to people in the industry. It would make your life easy.
So with that, do follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube. You can follow us because we are running a lot of sessions like this. And Jitu has been one of our member who is part of lot of communities that we are part together, and we are part of many communities where we talk about these pointers. Our podcasts happen on the cyber security on every Wednesday. Please join us. I've brought in the LinkedIn profile there. This is our YouTube profile. You can join us, subscribe, and these podcasts, now we are uh, completing 350 episodes of technology, cyberspace, growth, and strategy. Look at our episodes and let us know if you want to have some topic that interests you and makes your learning more enhanced. So that with that, I would like to conclude our session for today. And thank you for joining us, Jitu. Thank you, audience, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.